War Commander Zeftok stood before the massive viewing screen in his command chamber, his forearms crossed behind his back. The crimson scales along his neck flared with satisfaction as he watched the final moments of the Balerian resistance crumble on the planet below. Another world had fallen to the mighty Kitharan Empire. Another species had learned to bow before their superior technology and military might. "Sir, we have intercepted unusual transmissions from Sector 779, announced intelligence. Officer Krixval, his voice carrying the familiar tone of respect that all lower ranks used when addressing Zeftok. The signals appear to originate from an uncharted system in the Outer Rim. Zeftok turned slowly, his yellow eyes narrowing. The Outer Rim was considered worthless territory, filled with nothing but primitive worlds and dying stars. Still, any new discovery could potentially offer resources or slave labor for the Empire. "Display the transmissions," he commanded. The viewing screen flickered and changed to show a series of intercepted signals. Strange sounds filled the command chamber, voices speaking in an alien language, accompanied by what appeared to be crude, electromagnetic broadcasts. The quality was poor, suggesting the technology behind these transmissions was extremely basic. "Analysis?" Zeftok asked. "The signals originate from the third planet of a small yellow star," Krixval reported, consulting his datapad. "The inhabitants call themselves humans and their world Earth. Initial scans suggest they are bipedal carbon-based life forms with no apparent energy shielding or advanced defensive capabilities." Zeftok's mandibles clicked together in what passed for Kitharan laughter. "Show me their military capabilities." The screen displayed long-range sensor data of Earth's orbital space. Small metallic objects moved slowly around the planet, clearly primitive satellites and space stations. A few larger vessels appeared to be constructed in orbit, but they were tiny compared to even the smallest Kitharan scout ship. Their largest military vessels appear to use chemical propulsion and primitive nuclear technology, Krixval continued. "No plasma weapons detected, no quantum armor signatures, no gravitational manipulation devices. They appear to be several centuries behind. Our technological development, fascinating," Zeftok mused. "A species that has barely achieved spaceflight. Yet they broadcast their existence across the galaxy like children calling for attention." On Earth, millions of miles away, Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office deep within the Pentagon, staring at a classified report that had just crossed his desk. The document bore the highest security clearance and contained information that only a dozen people on the planet were authorized to know. "Sir, we have confirmation," said Colonel Paul Adams as he entered the office. "Long-range sensors have detected a large fleet of unknown vessels approaching the outer system. Estimated arrival time is 72 hours. Morrison rubbed his tired eyes. At 62 years old, he had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, though he had secretly hoped it would never come. "Have we established any communication?" "Negative, sir. They're ignoring all our transmission attempts. Dr. Lisa Carter from the Xenobiology Department has been analyzing their signal patterns. She believes they may be conducting reconnaissance before making contact." Morrison stood and walked to the window, looking out at the busy streets of Washington below. Ordinary people going about their ordinary lives, completely unaware that their world was about to change forever. "What does intelligence say about their capabilities?" "Preliminary. Analysis suggests advanced plasma-based weapons and energy shielding technology. Their ships are significantly larger than anything in our current fleet." Adams paused. "Sir, based on the sensor data, this appears to be a military formation." "I see." Morrison turned back to his desk and pressed a button on his secure communication. "Vice, get me the President, authorization code Omega 77. Within minutes, President Robert Hayes was on the line. "Jake, please tell me this is a drill." "I'm afraid not, Mr. President. We have contact with an alien civilization, and their intentions appear hostile. I'm recommending we implement protocol. Starfall immediately." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Protocol Starfall had been developed over decades by a secret coalition of military planners, scientists, and strategists. It was humanity's ultimate contingency plan, one that most people believed was nothing more than science fiction. Are you certain they're hostile? The president asked. They're approaching in military formation and ignoring all diplomatic communications. Dr. Carter has intercepted fragments of their transmissions. Based on linguistic analysis, they appear to be discussing conquest and subjugation. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Carter sat in her laboratory at the Smithsonian Institution, surrounded by computers and communication equipment that officially didn't exist. Her team had been monitoring deep space transmissions for over 20 years, and she had developed an expertise in xenolinguistics that few people on Earth could match. Professor, I'm getting clearer signals now, said her assistant Danny Brooks, a young man who had been recruited straight from MIT for his skills in signal analysis. They're definitely discussing Earth as a target. Carter nodded grimly as she studied the translated text on her screen. The alien language was complex, but patterns were emerging. Words like conquest and subjugation and primitive species appeared repeatedly in their communications. They think we're helpless, she said quietly. They're planning to invade because they believe we can't defend ourselves. Can we? Danny asked. Carter smiled for the first time in days. They're about to find out that appearances can be very deceiving. Back in space, War Commander Zeftok was finalizing his invasion plans. The Kithaeron fleet consisted of 300 vessels, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers. It was more firepower than had been used in the conquest of the last 5 worlds combined. Sir, should we attempt diplomatic contact before beginning the assault? Asked his tactical officer. Zeftok's eyes glowed with amusement. Why would we negotiate with insects? These humans will surrender once they witness the power of the Kithaeron Empire. Prepare the fleet for immediate conquest. I want this primitive world subdued within 1 rotation of their local star. Yes, sir. Shall we broadcast surrender terms? Of course. Even insects deserve the opportunity to submit before they are crushed. As the alien fleet approached Earth's outer system, humanity's leaders made their final preparations. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, in bunkers and command centers that had been secretly constructed over decades, military personnel took their positions at consoles and equipment that represented the culmination of humanity's greatest secret project. Admiral Morrison stood in the primary command center, watching as status lights turned green across hundreds of monitoring stations. Around him, men and women who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment worked with calm efficiency. All stations report ready, sir, reported Major Kate Sullivan. Morrison nodded and activated the global communication network. This is Admiral Morrison to all Starfall stations. The moment we have prepared for has arrived. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. And remember that today the universe learns what it means to threaten Earth. Above them, the Kithaeron fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, confident in their overwhelming superiority and certain of easy victory. They had no idea that they were flying into a trap that had been prepared for over a century, or that they were about to discover why no other alien civilization had ever successfully conquered the small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star. Captain Steve Rogers gripped the armrests of his command chair as the alien ships appeared on his sensors. From his position aboard Omega Station, humanity's largest orbital defense platform, he could see the massive Kithaeron fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter's orbit. The ships were enormous, each one dwarfing the largest human vessels by a factor of 10. Sir, we're receiving a transmission, reported Lieutenant Amy Johnson from the communication station. It's being broadcast on all frequencies. Put it on screen. The main display flickered and showed the imposing figure of War Commander Zeftok. His forearms were spread wide in what appeared to be a gesture of dominance, and his yellow eyes blazed with confidence. Primitive inhabitants of the 3rd planet. Zeftok's voice boomed through the translation systems. I am War Commander Zeftok of the Kithaeron Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender unconditionally. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. Rogers felt his jaw tighten. The alien's arrogance was breathtaking. Open a channel, he ordered. This is Captain Steve Rogers of the United Earth Defense Force. We do not recognize your authority over our world. We demand that you leave our system immediately. Zeftak's mandibles clicked in what the translation system identified as laughter. You dare to make demands? Your pathetic vessels are no match for the might of the Kitharan Empire. Observe. The transmission ended and Rogers watched in horror as the alien fleet began moving toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, their ships gleaming with energy shields that pulsed with deadly power. "Sir, they're targeting the moon," reported the tactical officer. On the lunar surface, Colonel Danny Brooks stood in the command center of Luna Base Alpha, watching the approaching enemy fleet through the base's sensors. The moon had been humanity's first line of defense for decades, though few people on Earth knew that the scientific research stations scattered across its surface were actually heavily fortified military installations. "All units, this is Luna, Base Alpha." Brooks transmitted to the hidden installations across the moon's surface. "Operation Welcome Mat is now active. Repeat, Operation Welcome Mat is active." Across the lunar landscape, what appeared to be rocky outcroppings and natural formations began to move. Massive gun emplacements rose from beneath carefully camouflaged surfaces. Missile launchers extended from underground bunkers. Shield generators hummed to life, creating protective barriers around the most critical installations. The Kitharan advance fleet reached the moon first, their massive dreadnought leading the formation. War Commander Zeftak stood on his bridge, confident that a single demonstration of power would be enough to break human resistance. "Target the largest settlement," he commanded, a precise strike to show them the futility of resistance. The dreadnought's main gun began to charge, energy building in its quantum disruptor array. The weapon was capable of cracking continents, and Zeftak expected the humans to surrender immediately after witnessing its power. The energy beam lanced out toward Luna Base Alpha, a brilliant lance of destruction that should have vaporized everything in its path. Instead, the beam struck a shimmering energy barrier that flared into existence just moments before impact. "Impossible," Zeftak hissed. "These primitives do not possess shield technology." His tactical officer was frantically checking his instruments. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures across the lunar surface. The readings suggest extensive military installations." "Sir, incoming missiles," another officer reported. From hidden launchers across the moon's surface, hundreds of nuclear-tipped missiles streaked toward the Kitharan fleet. The aliens' point defense systems activated, destroying most of the incoming projectiles, but several found their targets. The explosions bloomed like deadly flowers against the alien ship's shields. "Minor damage to 3 vessels," the tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are more advanced than initial scans suggested." War Commander Zeftak's confidence began to waver. These humans had hidden their true capabilities remarkably well. Their initial scans had detected no military installations on the moon, yet now the entire satellite seemed to be bristling with weapons. "Return fire," he ordered. "Destroy all human installations." The Kitharan fleet unleashed a devastating barrage of plasma cannons and energy weapons. The lunar surface erupted in explosions as alien fire struck human positions, but for every installation they destroyed, 2 more seemed to emerge from hidden locations. Colonel Brooks coordinated the defense from his command bunker, watching as his carefully prepared plans unfolded. Railgun batteries 7 through 12. Target the lead dreadnought. Fire when ready. Massive kinetic weapons that had been built into the moon's very structure opened fire. Solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speed slammed into the alien ships. The Kitharan shields held, but the impact sent shockwaves through their hulls. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter was broadcasting on all frequencies, trying to reach the alien fleet with a message of warning. She stood in her laboratory, surrounded by communication equipment, speaking into a microphone connected to the most powerful transmitters humanity possessed. "Attention Kitharan fleet," she said in their own language, having worked frantically to decode their linguistic patterns. "You are making a grave mistake. Our species has survived ice ages that lasted for thousands of years. We have endured asteroid impacts that blocked out our sun. We have survived volcanic eruptions that covered our entire planet in ash. We have fought 2 global wars that killed millions of our own people." She paused, letting the translation systems carry her words to the alien ships. We have been preparing for threats from the stars since we first looked up at the night sky. This is your final warning. Leave our system now or discover why no other species has ever successfully conquered Earth." War Commander Zeftok listened to the transmission with growing unease. The human female spoke their language perfectly, which suggested far more advanced linguistic capabilities than their initial intelligence had indicated. More troubling was the confidence in her voice. "Sir, we are detecting movement throughout the human solar system," his sensor officer reported. "Energy signatures are appearing on asteroids, on other moons, even on the gas giant planets. It appears the humans have military installations throughout their entire system." The war commander stared at the tactical display in disbelief. What had appeared to be a primitive civilization was revealing itself to be far more prepared than anyone had imagined. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence indicated they had barely achieved spaceflight." "Sir, it appears they have been deliberately concealing their true capabilities," the intelligence officer replied. "These installations show signs of having been constructed over many decades." On Omega Station, Captain Rogers was coordinating with defense installations across the solar system. "All stations, this is Earth Defense Command. Phase 1 is complete. Repeat, Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2 on my mark." The alien fleet found itself facing resistance from directions they had never expected. What had seemed like an easy conquest was turning into something far more complicated and dangerous. War Commander Zeftok realized that the Kithran Empire had made a critical error. These humans were not the primitive species they had appeared to be. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had been hiding their true strength while preparing for exactly this kind of encounter. "Sir, should we withdraw and request reinforcements?" his tactical officer asked. Zeftok's pride warred with his growing concern. The Kithran Empire had not retreated from a battle in over 2 centuries. But the humans were proving to be far more formidable opponents than anyone had anticipated. "No," he decided. "Signal the main fleet. Tell them to advance immediately. We will crush these humans with overwhelming force." But even as he gave the order, War Commander Zeftok could not shake the feeling that he had led his fleet into something far more dangerous than a simple conquest. The humans had been preparing for this day, and he was beginning to suspect that their preparations went far deeper than anyone had imagined. War Commander Zeftok stood on the bridge of his flagship as the full Kitharan invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 300 warships materialized in Earth's outer system, their hulls gleaming with the promise of destruction. The advance fleet's reports had been troubling, but Zeftok was confident that overwhelming numbers would crush any human resistance. "Sir, the advance fleet is requesting immediate support," reported his communications officer. "They report heavier than expected resistance from lunar installations." "Understood," Zeftok replied. "Signal all ships. Begin planetary bombardment formation. These humans will learn the price of defying the Kitharan Empire." As the massive fleet began moving toward Earth, something strange happened. The human orbital defenses that had been fighting so fiercely suddenly went silent. The space stations stopped firing. The lunar installations powered down their weapons. Even the communication chatter that had filled the system fell to an eerie quiet. "Sir, the humans appear to have ceased all military activity," the tactical officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. Zeftok's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Fear has finally overcome their foolish courage. Excellent. Continue the advance. But deep in the asteroid belt, Captain Danny Brooks sat in the command center of Mining Station Ceres, which was not a mining station at all. His fingers hovered over a control panel that had taken 50 years to build and install throughout the solar system. "All Ghost Station commanders, this is Danny Brooks," he transmitted on a frequency that existed only in the deepest classified channels. "The fish are swimming into the net. Prepare to activate on my signal." Throughout the solar system, on asteroids that appeared to be nothing more than floating rocks, hidden installations came online. What the aliens had dismissed as natural space debris was actually an elaborate network of weapons platforms that had been constructed over decades, using mining equipment as cover. Major Kate Sullivan commanded one of these hidden bases from inside, the hollowed-out asteroid Vesta, Around her, technicians who officially worked for civilian mining companies prepared weapons that officially did not exist. "Sir, Kitharan fleet has passed the first marker," reported her sensor operator. "They're committed to the inner system approach." "Excellent," Sullivan replied. "Begin final preparations for Operation Welcome Party." The Kitharan fleet continued its advance, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Their sensors detected no significant threats ahead, only the small blue planet that would soon belong to their empire. In the deepest bunkers beneath NORAD, General Rick Torres watched the alien fleet's progress on displays that showed the true extent of humanity's solar system defenses. Beside him stood Admiral Jake Morrison and dozens of other military leaders who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. "Sir, enemy fleet has reached Point Charlie," reported a technician. Torres nodded grimly. "Signal all stations. Activate the Damocles network." Throughout the solar system, hidden gravitic mines that had been seeded along the most likely invasion routes suddenly came online. These devices had been placed over the course of 30 years, disguised as space debris or hidden within asteroid formations. Each one was a triumph of human engineering, capable of creating localized gravitational distortions. The lead Kitharan ships suddenly found themselves caught in invisible nets of twisted space-time. Their faster-than-light drives, which depended on precise gravitational calculations, began to malfunction. Ships that had been moving in perfect formation suddenly veered off course as artificial gravity wells pulled them in unexpected directions. "What is happening?" Zeftok demanded as his flagship shuddered under the influence of forces his sensors could not identify. "Sir, we're detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout the fleet formation," his science officer reported. "The distortions appear to be artificial in nature. Impossible. These humans lack the technology for gravitational manipulation." But even as he spoke, the trap was closing around them. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt, weapons, platforms that had been disguised as mining equipment opened fire. Kinetic bombardment systems launched solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Nuclear warheads that had been hidden inside seemingly innocent asteroids detonated in carefully coordinated patterns. Captain Brooks coordinated the attack from his hidden command center. "All stations, this is Ghost Leader. Execute Welcome Party, Phase Alpha." The asteroids themselves seemed to come alive with hostile intent. Rocks that had drifted harmlessly in space for millions of years suddenly revealed themselves to be massive weapons platforms. The Kitharan fleet found itself under attack from every direction, with no clear targets to return fire against. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," the tactical officer reported as another Kitharan cruiser exploded under the concentrated fire of multiple hidden installations. "The humans have turned their entire asteroid belt into a weapon." War Commander Zeftok stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red markers indicating destroyed or damaged ships were appearing faster than his officers could track them. The humans had not simply prepared defenses around their planet. They had weaponized their entire solar system. "How long have they been preparing for this?" he asked in a voice barely above a whisper. His intelligence officer was frantically analyzing the data streaming in from the battle. "Sir, based on the construction patterns and energy signatures, some of these installations appear to be decades old. The humans have been building this network for at least 50 of their years." Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter was monitoring the battle from her secret laboratory. She opened a communication channel to the alien fleet, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect Kitharan. "War Commander Zeftok," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding in space above. "You asked how we could have prepared for this. The answer is simple. We have been watching the stars for threats since we first developed the ability to detect them." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Every probe that has entered our system over the past 1,000 years has been detected and analyzed. Every alien civilization that has sent scouts to observe us has been tracked and studied. We know about the Vegan collective that tried to invade us in 1823. We know about the Proxima Federation that attempted conquest in 1908. We know about the Centauri Brotherhood that launched their assault in 1947. Zeftok listened to her words with growing horror. Impossible. There are no records of those invasions. Of course there are no records, Carter replied. because none of those fleets ever returned home. Just as yours will not return home if you continue this attack. The truth hit the war commander. Like a physical blow. Earth was not a primitive world waiting to be conquered. It was a graveyard of alien ambitions, a fortress that had been claiming the fleets of would-be conquerors for centuries. "Sir, we've lost 40% of the fleet," his tactical officer reported. "Morale is breaking. Several ships are requesting permission to withdraw." Zeftok looked around his bridge at officers who had never known defeat, now facing a reality that shattered everything they believed about their empire's invincibility. The humans had not simply resisted their invasion. They had turned it into a carefully orchestrated slaughter. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Human Defense Command," the communications officer announced. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the main screen, his expression hard as steel. "War Commander Zeftok, this is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Key, United Earth Defense Force. You have 15 minutes to order your remaining ships to withdraw beyond the orbit of Pluto. Any vessel that remains in our system after that time will be destroyed." "You cannot do this," Zeftok protested. "The Kitharan Empire will not tolerate this humiliation." "The Kitharan Empire will learn to tolerate whatever Earth decides it will tolerate," Morrison replied coldly. 14 minutes and 30 seconds. War Commander. Choose wisely. As the transmission ended, Zeftok realized that his mighty empire had encountered something it had never faced before. A species that had turned patience into a weapon, preparation into an art form, and their entire world into a fortress that no force in the galaxy could breach. War Commander Zeftok gave the order that no Kitharan commander had given in over 2 centuries. "All ships, begin immediate withdrawal to the outer system. Execute emergency retreat protocols." The surviving Kitharan vessels turned away from Earth, their crews stunned and demoralized by the devastating losses they had suffered. Nearly half their fleet had been destroyed or crippled by humanity's hidden defenses. As they limped toward the edge of the solar system, they expected to escape into the safety of deep space. They were wrong. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the primary command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching the alien retreat on his tactical displays. Around him, officers who had trained their entire lives for this moment worked with calm efficiency at stations that controlled humanity's most closely guarded secrets. "Sir, alien fleet is attempting to withdraw," reported Major Kate Sullivan. "Should we allow them to escape?" Morrison's expression was grim. "Negative. Activate the outer perimeter. It's time they learned the full extent of our preparations." Throughout the outer solar system, on moons of gas giants that the aliens had dismissed as worthless ice balls, hidden installations came online. Europa, Ganymede, Titan, and dozens of other seemingly barren worlds revealed themselves to be armed fortresses that had been watching and waiting. Commander Lisa Wong, Earth's head of xenological warfare, opened a communication channel to the fleeing Kitharan fleet. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent decades studying alien civilizations and preparing for exactly this scenario. "War Commander Zeftok, this is Commander Wong of Earth Defense Command. Your fleet will halt immediately and prepare to receive boarding parties. Any attempt to leave this system will be met with deadly force." "Impossible," Zeftok snarled. "You cannot have military installations throughout your entire system. Our sensors would have detected them." Wong's laugh was cold and humorless. "Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. We have been studying alien sensor technology for over a century, War Commander. We know how to hide from eyes like yours." As if to prove her point, the fleeing Kitharan ships suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to materialize out of empty space. Stealth ships that had been invisible to alien sensors dropped their concealment fields and revealed themselves in formations that blocked every escape route. Captain Steve Rogers commanded one of these stealth vessels from the bridge of the destroyer, Defiance. His ship had been shadowing the alien fleet since their arrival, gathering intelligence and preparing for exactly this moment. "Alien vessels, this is Captain Rogers. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded On his flagship, Zevtok stared at the tactical display in horror. Human ships had appeared from nowhere, their weapons trained on his battered fleet. More troubling was the realization that these vessels had been there all along, watching and waiting. "How long have you been tracking us?" he demanded over the communication channel. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice answered from Earth. "We detected your fleet the moment you entered our sensor network, War Commander. That network extends far beyond your current position. We have been monitoring your approach for weeks, analyzing your ship design, studying your tactics, and preparing our response." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We know the composition of your hulls. We know the frequency of your shield generators. We know the vulnerabilities in your faster-than-light drives. We have been collecting this data from every alien vessel that has entered our system for the past millennium." Zevtok felt a chill run through his body. "You have been spying on other civilizations for 1,000 years?" "Not spying," Carter corrected. "Learning. Every alien species that has visited our system, whether as explorers, traders, or would-be conquerors, has taught us something valuable. We have accumulated knowledge about dozens of starfaring civilizations." From his command bunker, General Rick Torres activated a massive holographic display that showed the true extent of Earth's intelligence network. The display revealed tracking data on alien vessels going back centuries, detailed analysis of dozens of different species, and comprehensive files on the military capabilities of major galactic powers. "The Vegan Collective taught us about energy weapons," Torres broadcast to the alien fleet. "The Proxima Federation showed us advanced shield technology. The Centauri Brotherhood demonstrated gravitational manipulation. Each failure to conquer, Earth added to our knowledge and strengthened our defenses." Commander Wong continued the revelation. "We allowed some alien visitors to observe us and report back to their governments. We made sure they saw exactly what we wanted them to see. A primitive species with limited technology and no significant defenses." "You deliberately appeared weak?" Zevtok asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "We appeared exactly as weak as we needed to appear," Wong replied. "Strong enough to be worth conquering, but not strong enough to be considered a threat. It was the perfect strategy to draw potential enemies into range of our defenses." The war commander realized the full scope of humanity's deception. "Your entire civilization has been pretending to be primitive while secretly preparing for interstellar warfare." "Not pretending," corrected Admiral Morrison, his voice carrying the weight of decades of careful planning. "We simply chose not to advertise our true capabilities. We developed our technology in secret, built our defenses in hidden locations, and prepared for threats that most species cannot even imagine." Dr. Carter added the final piece of the puzzle. "Our planet has survived 5 mass extinction events, War Commander. We learned long ago that the universe is a dangerous place, and that survival requires constant vigilance and preparation. When we first detected radio signals from other star systems, we began preparing for the possibility that someone might decide to visit us with hostile intentions. The scope of humanity's long-term planning was staggering. They had spent centuries preparing for threats they couldn't yet see, building defenses against enemies they had never met, and developing strategies for conflicts that might never come. Sir, we're receiving detailed scans of our ship designs, the Catharan science officer reported in a shaking voice. The humans have complete technical specifications for our entire fleet. They know everything about our technology. Zevtok slumped in his command chair, the weight of total defeat crushing his spirit. How is such preparation possible? Colonel Jack Harper answered from his command post in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain. We learned to think in centuries instead of years, War Commander. While your empire was conquering primitive worlds and growing overconfident, we were quietly preparing for the day when someone like you would come calling. We turned our entire planet into a fortress, Admiral Morrison added. Every moon, every asteroid, every seemingly empty region of space became part of our defensive network. We didn't just build weapons, we built a philosophy of survival that could outlast any single generation. The alien commander looked around his bridge at officers who had never known defeat, now facing the reality that their mighty empire had been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive insects. What happens now? Zeftok asked, quietly. Commander Wong's voice was businesslike and final. Now you get to choose, War Commander. You can cooperate with our intelligence gathering and return to your empire with a message of warning for other potential invaders. Or you can join the wreckage of every other fleet that thought Earth would be an easy conquest. The choice is yours, Admiral Morrison concluded. But choose quickly. Earth has been patient for a very long time, but our patience is not unlimited. As the last of his illusions crumbled around him, War Commander Zeftok realized that the Kithaeron Empire had encountered something unprecedented in their long history of conquest, a civilization that had turned defensive preparation into an art form and had been quietly watching the galaxy while building the ultimate fortress world. 3 months after the failed invasion, War Commander Zeftok stood before the High Council of the Kithaeron Empire. His once proud uniform was stripped of most decorations, and his forearms trembled as he delivered his report. The massive council chamber was silent except for his voice, which carried the weight of total defeat. Honored counselors, I must report that the invasion of the Sol system has failed completely, he said, his words echoing in the vast space. Of the 300 vessels in our fleet, only 47 returned. The humans of Earth are not the primitive species we believed them to be. High Counselor Vrakthul leaned forward in his seat, his ancient eyes blazing with fury. Explain how a backward civilization destroyed our finest fleet. Zeftok's mandibles clicked nervously. They have been preparing for interstellar warfare for over 1,000 of their years. Their entire solar system is a fortress. Every moon, every asteroid, every piece of space debris has been weaponized. They knew we were coming before we even entered their system. Impossible, another counselor protested. Our intelligence reports clearly indicated they were centuries behind our technology. That was exactly what they wanted us to believe, Zeftok replied. They have been deliberately hiding their true capabilities while studying every alien civilization that has ever visited their system. They know our weaknesses better than we know them ourselves. The implications of his words sent ripples of fear through the council chamber. The Kithaeron Empire had built its power on the assumption that they were technologically superior to all other species. The idea that a supposedly primitive world had been watching and learning from them was terrifying. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the news of the Kithaeron defeat was spreading through the complex network of alien civilizations. On the trading stations of the Andorian Collective, merchants whispered about the mysterious humans who had destroyed an entire imperial fleet. In the diplomatic halls of the Centauri Alliance, ambassadors shared intelligence reports about Earth's hidden military capabilities. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office in the Pentagon, reading diplomatic messages that were arriving hourly from alien governments. For the first time in human history, Earth was receiving official communications from dozens of starfaring civilizations. Sir, we have another request for formal diplomatic relations, reported Colonel Paul Adams as he entered with a data pad. This one is from the Rigel Confederation. That makes 37 requests in the past week. Morrison smiled grimly. It's amazing how quickly we went from being ignored to being courted by half the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Carter entered the office, carrying her own stack of reports. The Xenolinguistics department is having trouble keeping up with all the new languages we're encountering. It seems every major civilization in this part of the galaxy wants to establish contact. What's the tone of these communications? Morrison asked. Respectful, Carter replied. Very respectful. Nobody is making demands or threats. They all seem eager to establish peaceful relations with Earth. The reason for this sudden diplomatic interest was spreading through galactic intelligence networks like wildfire. The story of Earth's hidden defenses and the destruction of the Kithaeron fleet was being told and retold, growing more impressive with each telling. On the water world of Aquarius Prime, the ruling council of the Oceanic Federation reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing amazement. General Riftos, their military commander, studied the data with professional admiration. According to these reports, the humans have been preparing for interstellar warfare for longer than our entire civilization has existed, he told the council. They turned their entire star system into a weapons platform while appearing to be a peaceful, primitive species. Should we consider them a threat? Asked the council leader. Only if we attack them, Riftos replied. But based on what happened to the Kitharans, I would strongly advise against any hostile action toward Earth. Captain, Steve Rogers now commanded Earth's first official interstellar diplomatic vessel, the Starship Ambassador. As he traveled to various alien worlds to establish formal relations, he carried with him a simple message from Earth's leadership. The human species seeks peaceful coexistence with all sentient life, he would tell alien leaders. We have no desire for conquest or expansion beyond our own system. However, we are prepared to defend ourselves against any threat. The subtle warning in his words was not lost on his alien audiences. Earth was offering friendship, but the fate of the Kytheran fleet served as a clear reminder of what happened to those who chose hostility instead. Back on Earth, President Robert Hayes addressed the United Nations in a session that was broadcast to every nation on the planet. For the first time in human history, he revealed the existence of the secret defense network that had protected Earth for generations. My fellow humans, he began, his voice carrying the weight of momentous revelation. For over a century, a dedicated group of military leaders, scientists, and strategists have been working in secret to protect our world from threats we hoped would never come. The assembly hall was completely silent as he continued. These brave men and women built hidden fortresses on our moon, weaponized our asteroid belt, and created a defense network that spans our entire solar system. They prepared for a war they prayed would never happen, and when that war finally came, they saved our civilization. In the months that followed, Earth began to emerge as a major power in galactic politics. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the simple fact that they had proven themselves too dangerous to attack and too valuable to ignore as allies. Commander Lisa Wong established Earth's first interstellar intelligence agency, tasked with monitoring potential threats and maintaining the defensive networks that had saved humanity. Her agents, operating from hidden bases throughout the solar system, continued the work of watching and preparing that had become humanity's greatest strength. The warning about Earth spread to the farthest reaches of known space. In the taverns of frontier worlds, spacers told stories about the blue planet where an entire invasion fleet had vanished. In the war rooms of military powers, generals studied the tactical reports and advised their leaders to avoid any conflict with the mysterious humans. The message was always the same. Earth appeared peaceful and welcoming, but it was defended by a species that had turned patience and preparation into weapons more powerful than any plasma cannon or quantum torpedo. Years passed, and the legend of Earth's defenses grew. New alien civilizations that achieved spaceflight were quietly warned by their more experienced neighbors about the danger of threatening the Sol system. The humans became known throughout the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the species that had made their homeworld unconquerable. And in the deepest bunkers beneath Earth's surface, in the hidden fortresses of the asteroid belt, and on the armed moons of distant planets, humanity's defenders continued their eternal watch. They maintained the weapons that had saved their world, studied new potential threats, and prepared for challenges that might not come for another 1,000 years. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a species that has spent millennia learning to survive on a world that constantly tried to kill them. And Earth had sent a clear message to the stars. They came in peace, but they were prepared for war.